When you look at the physical world, you naturally expect a strict thermodynamic reality.
Quite. A world bound by measurable physical laws.
Right. I mean, a human body burns calories for fuel. A camera lens captures the exact measurable spectrum of light bouncing off a surface. And history is supposedly locked in texts and sedimentary rock. You expect the universe to operate like a predictable machine.
But the texts we are opening today discard those laws entirely.
Exactly. We are taking a deep dive into the source material of Star-Crossed Souls. Specifically, we're looking at its breathtaking prologue. And, we are entering a landscape where hard science violently collides with ancient mythology, where history is an active code running in the present.
It is a thrilling paradigm shift.
It really is. So let's set the stage for you. In the winter of 2019, just as the world is about to lock its doors, a woman crosses paths with a man who has completely severed himself from the human food chain. And not through starvation, but through optics.
Yes, and the woman at the center of this narrative operates under a very compelling earthly disguise. To the public, Kaho Fujikawa is a costume designer. She is a history geek and the independent publisher behind the Kyoto-based imprint Seishusha.
Right, she has a Turkish bloodline, doesn't she?
Indeed, she carries a Turkish bloodline and resonates with the musical note F. But this surface identity masks her profound true nature. She is, in fact, Aureilia, the Archivist of Lyra.
But the activation of that latent identity, it requires a biological anomaly to trigger it.
Precisely. It requires Jyoti Kassapa.
Right?
Jyoti is an Iranian yoga master, but his genetic lineage traces directly back to Sumeria, which is, of course, humanity's most ancient recognized civilization. His defining characteristic, however, defies conventional physiology. Jyoti is strictly a liquidarian.
A liquidarian, meaning he consumes no physical food whatsoever.
None. And this is not some arbitrary ascetic practice. It is the direct result of a specific celestial event. During the Venus transits of 2004 and 2012, Jyoti absorbed the optical frequency of that planetary alignment directly through his retinas.
Which is fascinating from a biological standpoint.
It is. This exposure fully activated his pineal gland, allowing him to sustain his physical vessel entirely on prana cosmic energy. Within the architecture of this mythos, Jyoti functions as a living avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, the deity responsible for maintaining cosmic order.
Right.
The text actually maps Vishnu's 4 sacred tools directly onto Jyoti's biological reality.
And if we break down the mechanics of those 4 tools, we see this incredible fusion of ancient symbology and applied physics.
Let's look at the first tool, the conch shell. It represents the primordial sound of AUM.
But in the physical presence of Jyoti, this is not a metaphor. It is a literal acoustic wave. It's a resonant frequency that actively shatters psychological ignorance and initiates the awakening of Kaho's dormant soul.
Exactly. The second tool is the discus, traditionally a weapon of time and intellect. For Jyoti, this manifests as the staggering mental processing power required to decode the 124-year cycle of the Venus transit.
Yeah.
He utilizes this intellect to pinpoint exact nodes in time.
To map the temporal hazard zones, essentially.
Yes. Then we have the third tool, the lotus. It symbolizes a flower that blooms flawlessly out of the mud. This is the manifestation of his pure liquidarian lifestyle. He maintains an unsullied, highly calibrated biological state while navigating the chaotic density of our material world.
Which brings us to the fourth tool, right? The mace. This represents the mental authority to crush karma. When Kaho is later plunged into the terrifying weight of her cellular memory, it's this psychological mace that forces her to take a bird's-eye view.
Yes, detaching her consciousness from utter emotional destruction.
You might be thinking the underlying premise here, a liquidarian biology is scientifically impossible.
It certainly challenges our basic understanding of human survival.
It does.
Yeah.
But if you analyze the human pineal gland through the lens of optics and cellular physics, the anomaly actually tracks with the internal logic of this universe. The pineal gland contains piezoelectric calcite crystals.
Yeah.
It is not merely a vestigial organ. It functions similarly to a camera sensor deep within the brain. So when Jyoti absorbed the Venus transits, he literally reprogrammed his cellular structure to become a receiver of light.
A profound biological shift.
Right. He shifted his biological engine away from one driven by combustion, the destruction of physical matter for kinetic energy, to an engine driven entirely by resonance.
And by mastering this biological resonance, Jyoti is able to guide Kaho into a state of deep meditation. He alters her brainwave frequencies to bypass her conscious mind and unlock her cellular memory.
And this is where things get intensely complicated for her.
Highly complicated.
Mm.
The archive she accesses contains two deeply profound, entirely distinct memories. And it is critical that we never mix these two existences up to truly understand the sheer weight of her duty.
Let's start with the first one.
Yes. The first is her cosmic memory. Kaho finds herself suspended in pristine serenity at the fountain of the source of light. She stands at the edge of a luminous river, and her duty as Aureilia is to methodically dye cloth.
Dyeing cloth in a celestial river.
Exactly. She is steeping fabric in these waters to anchor raw cosmic data and wisdom into the etheric bodies of newborn souls.
Which, if you think about it, the act of dyeing cloth at the source of light is effectively an act of high-level data preservation.
How so?
Well, raw cosmic code is volatile, right? As an archivist, Aureilia is writing this volatile code onto a physical hard drive, the fabric. She is anchoring data into a material substrate so it does not succumb to entropy and just scatter into the chaotic void of the universe.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. And in the absolute peace of this celestial environment, she is approached by a tall man with striking, smoky quartz eyes.
Smoky quartz?
Yes. He takes her by the hand and transports her to a breathtaking celestial nursery, the exact environment where stars are born.
So a memory of creation that is mathematically perfect.
Flawless. But it is violently contrasted by her second memory. Without warning, Kaho's consciousness is dragged into an earthly memory. She is trapped in a devastating past life during a catastrophic world-ending flood.
A total inversion of the first memory.
Completely. She is submerged in a dark, freezing sea. The serenity of the celestial nursery is utterly replaced by desperate terror. In the freezing water, she is frantically wrapping the drowned etheric bodies of her people in cocoons.
Wrapping them to protect them.
Desperately tying the threads that will tether their souls, protecting them from total annihilation, and ensuring their passage into the next reincarnation.
It is a brutal juxtaposition of thermodynamics and duty, you know. She goes from operating at the absolute zero of the cosmos, perfectly peaceful, to fighting the biting thermal drain of earthly water. The Archivist of Light is forced to become the undertaker of the drowned.
And Jyoti provides the crucial framework for this dual burden. He explains to her that her overwhelming psychological urge to dye fabric for others in her present life is deeply rooted in the Sanskrit concept of Raita.
Raita, meaning cosmic truth or universal order.
Precisely. And this ancient Sanskrit law shares a profound linguistic and operational connection to two Japanese concepts: Rita, which means altruism, and Ritsu, which means rhythm.
So altruism in this context, it isn't merely a moral position.
No, it's a physical force. By protecting those drowned souls, by tirelessly tying those cocoons in the freezing sea, she was actively maintaining the rhythm of the cosmos itself.
Wow. And this terrifying realization of her dual burden, it demands a physical anchor in the present day. When Kaho awakens from the meditation, she is acutely aware of her duty as the archivist. But to complete her current publishing project for Seishusha, well, a code is useless if it cannot be read.
He is an observer.
Right. Someone capable of perfectly capturing the optical frequency of this light of cloth and anchoring it to the physical world. She requires an uncompromising lens.
And this functional necessity introduces Kai Hoshino. Kai represents a truly fascinating aggregation of variables. He is an astrophotographer and a devotee of stones.
A unique combination.
Very. He is half Welsh, half Japanese. A die-hard Copite, dedicating his terrestrial loyalty to Liverpool Football Club. But crucially, his past involves working as a plasterer. He spent his days restoring the walls of ancient medieval castles in Wales.
Which gives him a unique understanding of physical structures.
Exactly. Kaho discovers his photo book, The Call of the Stones, and recognizes his uncanny ability to capture the silent, breathing voices of minerals. Working with lime, sand, and water over centuries-old stone has taught him that structures hold memory.
So, overcome with inspiration upon seeing his optical work, Kaho sends him a deeply passionate, sprawling email. She proposes a collaboration to capture the light of her fabric.
And Kai's response is the absolute antithesis of her warmth.
It really is. He sends a reply so violently blunt, so completely devoid of standard human pleasantries, that Kaho likens the experience to receiving a block of Siberian permafrost.
He strips away all societal noise. But despite this brutal digital exchange, they do agree to an in-person meeting, and the temporal coordinates of this encounter are far from coincidental.
Right. They converge on February 3, 2021.
At the ancient Tuji Temple in Kyoto.
Yeah.
In this specific year, February 3rd triggers a massive 124-year calendar anomaly, a temporal node where the first day of spring aligns perfectly with the Lunar New Year.
And the mathematics of that 124-year anomaly synchronize flawlessly with the Venus transit cycle Jody decoded earlier.
It all connects. When Kai arrives at the temple grounds, Kaho is performing on a stage in the winter air. She is a koto virtuoso, and she is singing a classical song dedicated to Benzaiten.
Utilizing that note F resonance.
Yes, in this moment, she is not a publisher. She is manifesting her true essence as a priestess of the water goddess.
Priestess of the water goddess. And Kai observes her manifestation, but the mechanics of his observation are critical here. He's draped in this heavy, highly functional British barber jacket, shielding himself from the elements, and he is looking at her through a massive, unforgiving piece of optical equipment.
The Sigma 105mm bokeh master lens.
Attached to a Lumix S1R camera body, yes, a lens of that magnitude, it is notoriously heavy and incredibly difficult to wield. But it offers absolute optical perfection. Its massive aperture obliterates the background, isolating a single plane of focus.
It isolates the truth.
Exactly. This gear perfectly mirrors Kai's internal architecture. He constructs heavy permafrost barriers. He filters out the polite societal noise, totally obliterating the background distractions of human interaction, just so he can capture only the raw, unyielding truth of his subjects.
He demands absolute clarity. And it is through this highly calibrated glass lens that the defining collision of this narrative occurs. The western sun breaches the ancient trees of the temple and strikes Kaho directly in the eyes.
And the moment those photons hit her retinas, the established laws of biology shatter. Kai is watching her intently through the viewfinder. He has already cataloged the natural color of her eyes as a deep blue amber.
But upon impact with the sunlight.
Yes, a violent optical phenomenon occurs. Her irises instantly shift from blue amber to a blinding kunzite violet.
It is stunning.
The crystalline structure mimics a pattern known in mineralogy as starburst rutile quartz. It is a literal explosion of light, captured at 1,000th of a second by Kai's mechanical shutter.
Kai recognizes the biological impossibility of this physical reaction immediately. Confronting her after the performance, the Siberian permafrost vanishes. It is replaced by a razor-sharp interrogation regarding the structural composition of her eyes,
which initiates a high-level intellectual sparring match between the two of them, unfolding over the grounds of Tuji Temple.
And the sparring inevitably turns to the architect of the ground they are standing on, the legendary monk Kukai. To understand the stakes of their conversation, you have to look at Kukai not just as a religious figure, but as an absolute titan of data calculation.
Right, because Kukai is often referred to as the Da Vinci of the East.
He is, but compressing his intellect into a single Western counterpart is insufficient. He is an amalgamation of three of history's greatest minds. He possesses the monumental engineering genius of Leonardo da Vinci, allowing him to construct structures like Tuji.
A structural genius?
Yes. And he holds the profound understanding of celestial mechanics and the music of the spheres pioneered by Johannes Kepler. Finally, he wields the cryptographic brilliance of Francis Bacon, encoding esoteric truths into the very architecture of reality.
Incredible.
Kai and Kaho recognized that Kukai utilized his astrology, a system known as Tsukushiki, not to predict human romances or minor fortunes, but as a highly advanced political algorithm.
Right. Kukai was running a massive predictive disaster hazard map. He was calculating the celestial mechanics to identify the exact nodes in time when the Earth would be most vulnerable to cosmic interference.
A map of temporal vulnerability.
Yes. And if we consult modern astrophysics, the data absolutely backs up his historical paranoia. I mean, look at the date of Kukai's birth, 774 AD. In the world of dendrochronology, 774 AD is instantly recognizable. It corresponds exactly to the Miyake event.
A monumental temporal marker.
A terrifying solar flare bombarded the Earth with cosmic rays during the Miyake event. It left undeniable, violent spikes of carbon-14 trapped within the rings of trees across the entire globe. Kukai was not merely praying to the stars, you know. His existence was forged in the latent radiation of an extreme astrophysical anomaly.
He felt the echo of it.
He recognized the violent noise of the universe and literally codified it into religious ritual to protect the nation from future celestial bombardment.
Uncovering the depth of Kukai's algorithm in that moment highlights the undeniable magnetic resonance between Kaho and Kai. You have two profound, uncompromising intellects standing on the grounds of a temporal hazard map.
Two halves of an equation.
Exactly. One is an archivist, tirelessly encoding the memory of the cosmos and the desperate survival of human history into the physical threads of cloth. The other is a hyper-rational artisan, capturing the exact, unyielding truth of time through a cold glass lens. They are perfectly and violently colliding under the exact geometry of the stars.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? If the tree rings from 774 AD still hold the violent radioactive scars of the cosmos, well, what cosmic rhythms are currently being recorded in our own cellular memory just waiting to be read? Letters by letter, volume by volume, this extraordinary duo is ready to lift the veil. The private library is now open. Let the great tuning begin.